Hey guys, so for this video, I got something a little bit different. I got books. I got the best kind of books, old books. I like books that are usually pre-60s. I like books that's usually the first edition. So here's some books that I kind of handpicked. Usually what I do with books, I'll go to antique stores or thrift stores and find the oddest book or the oldest book or ones I think I haven't heard of before, buy them and read them, and then sell them online for the next person to enjoy. But there's one book in here in particular that I want to kind of show you. I got addicted to the book right away, almost by accident. I was just reading through the first few pages, and one piece on within I think the fourth or fifth page got me hooked. And it didn't mention much about what got me hooked on that point, but the book was so thrilling that I finished it within about 5 hours combined over about 2 or 3 days. So I'll show you that book and I'll show you all of these books. I hope this isn't too boring. This is a little bit different than what I usually do, but if you've watched my videos, you've probably overheard me say a few times that I collect coins, movies, and books. I love books. So let's get into it. Excuse me if I sound a little hoarse. I've got something going on. It's just in my nose and throat, so forgive me. All right, so I'm just going to start grabbing these out from top to bottom. Here's a couple books that are children's books. I think they're from 1929. I have an antique booth, and I also sell on eBay. I'm pretty sure you all knew that, but I'd like to find the most unique stuff I could find. So this one is Toodles ABC, and it's made of linen. Even says linen here. So this book is made out of like pants material, linen. So this is pretty interesting. It's odd. It's cloth. So I'm not going to read it all here, but I'll kind of just flip through it. And this one will be on eBay. And for 1929, which I think that's the year this book was made, and I see a pretty interesting word. Trust me, when you read older books, you're going to see stuff that you either might offend people now or might have different meanings back then. This one, Jingle Jingle, Pussy's got in it. Okay, so but that's one reason why I like looking at these books. Like this one's just made of linen. It's weird. So this one I have not read yet. Most of these books I cannot find any material online. Like the one book that I want to show you the most about is a book that I found on Google Books, and that one I'm going to get to. But I'll put the links in the description. But this one, 1929, I believe it is. But this is a pretty cool book. I'll do some research about it, and this will be on eBay once I read through it, which won't be very long. It's just ABCs. And here's a book. This one is kind of fragile. This one is from 1929, also, I believe. Little Maya. Yeah, it's already falling apart. But this one is Fairy Tales in 1929. Let me reposition the camera a little bit. And so I'll read through this, and I'll either put it on eBay or sell it in my shop, just whichever one I think it'll do better in. But to go back in time and look at these books that were made back then for the children and the people back then, it's just amazing. And also it's a time capsule, because this doesn't have anything in it from 1930 or from there on. Everything in this book, nothing newer than 1930 is in this book, because this book is 1929. I know that sounds pretty clear and like, okay, yeah, I know that. But when you actually think about, there were no cell phones when this book was made, so they're not going to mention phones. They're not going to mention TV and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of interesting. And that's one reason why I got addicted to the one book I'm going to show you. I'm sorry, I'll get to it. Actually, I'll make it easy for you. I'll get to it now, but I'll talk about it more later. So the book that got me hooked was this one, A Tramp Across the Continent. And this book is the first edition, 1892. I'll prove it to you. So A Tramp Across the Continent, Charles Fletcher Loomis. That's what CF stands for. So this book, you can see it was from the Fuller Public Library, Millsboro, New Hampshire. So I'm not sure. Well, here's a date, June 14th, 1922. I don't know if that's when it was just discarded. There's another date, 1916. But you can see here, the book was made 1892. And, okay, this was $1.25 new. But I'll show you the part real quick. And I'll get to this book later. So if you want to see more about this book and what got me hooked, skip to, I don't know, I'll put it on the screen. But the book starts with this guy travels from Ohio all the way to California, Los Angeles, and he walks through the desert. He walks from like Colorado to New Mexico to Arizona, and he documents everything along his trip. And it is amazing. But the first thing that got me hooked with this book is right here. I think it's on page 5. Yeah, right here. So he said, "In my skin, button $300 and $2.50 gold pieces, which are quarter eagles. And which would not suffer from perspiration like the paper money would." That part got me hooked. Now, like I said in the beginning of this video, it didn't mention much of the coinage throughout the entire book, but it did mention a little bit of the jewelry part. So that's where I want to talk about, because this is, like I said, a time capsule from 1892. So this is Ted Hughes, The Tiger's Bones. So you can see it has a little baby inside of the tiger's rib cage. I mean, you won't see this stuff these days. You can see this is the first edition, 1974. This is probably the newest book out of this entire lot. But if you're interested, or if you know this book and you're looking to buy it, I have it. So I have not read this. This one is kind of hard to find online. I'm surprised that this book was so easy to find. But it's a really good book. A really good book. And here's Tom Swift. Let me see if I can zoom out. Okay. Here's Tom Swift and the House on Wheels. This is another children's book. And this one is from, I think, 1929 as well. Yeah, 1929. So this one I haven't read yet, which shouldn't take long, of course. But you can see the children's books back then was a lot thicker than the children's books today. And here is probably this is the oldest book in the entire lot. And it's an incredible shape. You can see first edition, 1812. And yes, that's the year, 1812. And this is an amazing condition, at least the outside jacket is, or the outside part of the book. So let me see if I can zoom out a little bit. The camera seems too zoomed in. All right. So you can see this book is 1812. This is a 213-year-old book. And this is satire. This is like a political kind of satire from England and France and probably Germany too, around that part. And this is by Caleb Colton. That's what C stands for. So, and I have not read this book, but I think it's going to be pretty amazing, because just like the kids book I was showing you, there's nothing in this book past 1812. So everything in this book is 1812 and prior. So this is going to be pretty cool. I can't wait to read this book, because I could not find... Actually, I did find the ebook online, but the ebook was weird. It was warped. Sometimes when they put the books in a scanner, the pages will become warped, and it's bothersome. And here's a book called Cross Key. I haven't looked this book up yet. I got it because I think it's 1942. But I got this because it seemed like it would be a fun book to read, and it has some interesting stories and subjects that's kind of hard to read about these days. Just kind of flip through it. But you can see there's a lot of subjects and stuff that are just banned these days, and it's kind of interesting to read and get a a kind of feel for what the writers felt, because a lot of these books were not meant to be offensive. It was telling how life was, because a lot of this material wasn't offensive until the 60s, and before that it was normal and nobody thought anything was wrong with it. But then again, as media started saying, hey, you shouldn't say this, shouldn't say that, which is true, then people started getting more kind of light on the words they would use, and that led to a whole kind of rabbit hole of like a nanny state. So I like reading the stuff before it was banned to kind of see how I feel, because when there's some kind of subject like offensive subjects, it's nice to kind of read before they were offensive, or you can get a feel of, you feel of it, do you feel it was offensive, or do you feel it wasn't offensive. It's kind of like reading into World War II history, because that stuff is so polarizing that if you don't know the entire truth, like the entire truth, you go in and read many, many, many books, spend months and months studying it, you don't get a full grasp, and you seem to just kind of tend to one side, and then you're biased. It just kind of ruins the perception. So it's kind of hard to explain unless you feel the way I feel, where you want to know the whole truth. You just don't want to think about something and just pick a side and call it done. Here's another book called The Lame Prince, the Little Lame Prince and the Ventures of Brownie. So this book, I looked through it a little bit online, but it's going to be much better to read in person. This book, 1942, I believe. So let me see. 1928. Sorry, I don't know why I was thinking 42. But this one's going to be pretty interesting because of the pages I read, it seems like there's a bunch of different little stories, and I don't know. I've only read through it a couple pages because I couldn't find much of it online. There was some other Little Lame Prince novels or books, you should say, but on different subjects, different adventures. So I have not read this one yet. And here's an old Robin Hood, Douglas Fairbanks. And these books, these were made, I think, in the 30s. Let me see. 1935. These books, whatever material they made them out, they're so light. I found a lot of old antique books that are made out of this material. I guess it's paper, but it's a real thin type of paper, and it feels different. But these are always so light. So 1935, Robin Hood. So Under the Window by Kate Greenaway. And one thing about these cool books, they have colors that you just don't see anymore in books. And, there is an evolution of ink and inks and materials that just kind of grew over time. And some of this ink and some of these style printing, you just don't see anymore. So it's really cool to see how the books are made and the inks and materials they used back then. But this book, I'll put it on the screen, but you can see this is lithograph, and that's what I was trying to say. This is a lithograph. You don't see much lithograph books anymore. So this one's going to be pretty interesting to look through. And I love just going back in time, and you can kind of pretend that you're in the year that this book was made, and you can kind of just go back in time. So it's like having your own little personal time machine. And here's one, The History of the Science of Politics by Sir Frederick Pollock. And this book is, I think it's in the 1800s. Well, 1900. So this book's going to be kind of interesting. Like I said, if you're interested, or if you've heard of these and you know them and you want to purchase them, they're going to be on eBay after I look through them and after I read them. So moving on. This is a story all about how... No, I'm just joking. So here's a story. This book is written by Felix Salten. If you don't know who Felix Salten is, I don't blame you, because he sold his story to a producer, and that producer eventually sold it to Disney. And that story that he wrote back in 1921 became Bambi. It was originally called Bambi, A Life in the Forest, I believe. And he wrote it. He wanted to make a live action adaptation. He got in debt, and also he got exiled by the Nazis. He was a Jewish writer, and he eventually sold his story to the one said producer. I'll put his name on the screen. And that one producer, he sold it for $1,000. $1,000 back then was a lot, probably about the equivalent of $30,000. And that producer held it for a few years and eventually sold it to Disney. And Disney released Bambi in 1944. And Felix Salten, whose real name was Sigmund Salzman, He changed his name to be Les Jew. So just this is what he did. This is not me saying this. This is what he did in his real life. So he died in 1945. Even though Bambi was recorded in 1942, I think it was released in 42, but it didn't hit Europe until like 44. But he never saw the Disney version, which was much more tame and much more mild, much more family friendly, even though it's a tragic movie. But and his book, it was much more brutal. And in his eyes, the book was about how the Germans treated the Jews in World War One, not World War Two. This book is about World War Two. So this is like the World War Two kind of version of Bambi. And it does have a deer in it. I don't think they gave any of these. He didn't get an. I don't think the deer got a name. I think some of the other animals got names, like Mr. Rabbit or so. I've kind of read through this a little bit, but I've been waiting to read the actual book. But this is a book about the forest being life, being Europe, I guess. The animals being the Jews and the hunter, and whatever happens in this book being the Germans. So, Good Comrades, which is a communist kind of name. But I thought this book would be interesting to read. And from what I read so far, every animal either goes missing or dies. So, like Snow White Rabbit. Let's see. Because I was just kind of flipping through it, and right here you can see, that's Brother Ant. And Master searched for him in sadness and regret. He never came. So you get the story. But if you want to read this, if you want to buy this, it will be on eBay, but I'm going to read through it first. And here's two books, volume 1 and 2. This is the history of the American fur trade. And this actually connects to Tramp Across the Continent. So, because this is a history book. So this is like, pre-internet. Pre-internet, you had to go get these books. And these books are from, I think it was originally 1902, but these books are from the 50s. 1954. And volume 2, which volume 2 I found online. I cannot find volume 1 online, 1954. And last book. I'll probably turn my opinions on A Tramp Across the Continent into another video. This book is nursery rhymes from 1874. So you can see it looks gothic, but you can see 1874. So, and this is from a monthly magazine. So this is going to be really interesting. And like I was saying with the other books, nothing in these books past 1874 exists. So everything in this book was 1874 or prior. So it's going to be a real interesting book because, like the table, look at the lamp, 1864. That you can kind of see how people lived back then. And that's the kind of stuff I love, and that's the kind of books I read. I read mostly history books and nonfiction, but I do get a lot of children's stories too, and some other kind of books, some light novels. But I really like nonfiction and history books. All right, well, I hope you like this video, and the link is in the description for eBay. And if you're interested in any of these, just buy them. It helps me. It supports the channel. I appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.